Teasdale, we have a special surprise for you here today. We're actually going to go on a tour of the Cody Firearms Museum. And I have a special guest to introduce to you here. This is my good friend Danny. He is the assistant curator. He's not even remotely interested in meeting you right now, but that's all right. Oh, now he is. Okay. So this is the assistant curator of the Cody Firearms Museum. So Danny, can you tell us a little bit about your museum?
Yeah, so the Cody Firearms Museum is one of the largest public firearms collections in the United States. And while we have about 4,200 firearms on display, we also try to tell a more comprehensive story and share a lot of the stories that are behind those artifacts.
All right, excellent. Now, there's lots of amazing things to see here today, and we passed quite a few of them as we were heading our way back to this spot. But not everyone, like Teasdale, is necessarily a firearms enthusiast. So what are some things that they can look forward to seeing here in this museum?
Yeah, and I think he kind of is, because he's looking all around at all the cool exhibits to see.
It's true.
But there is something for everybody here. Like I said, we try and tell some of the stories behind all these artifacts, and one really great example of that is just over here, where we talk about how some of these guns were actually made and the people that made them. So if we want to head over there, we can check that one out.
Sounds great. Lead the way.
All right.
Okay, we'll be right behind you. There's lots of really cool things that I've been seeing as I'm walking back here today.
So this is our sort of recreated firearms factory, and it is all about, like I said, how these guns were made and the people that made them. So that we have lots of stories on these panels about some of the people. There's some video in here that showcases people actually at work about in the 19-teens, which is really neat to see. And of course then there's these great big machines that are kind of stinky, but these are all original factory machines that you would have seen in an early 20th century firearms manufacturer. These all came from the Savage Arms Corporation, and they were made by a company called Pratt & Whitney. And like I said, they all still smell like machine oil.
They can, yeah. And now that you mention that, he probably can't smell that, actually. Great horned owls don't have that great a sense of smell. They have excellent hearing and eyesight, but they really can't smell much.
That's too bad, because this is our one 4D exhibit, but I guess that'll just have to be for our other visitors.
That's all right, yeah. I can definitely smell that machine oil in here. It's pretty cool. And I noticed there's another really cool spot to see along the way there, so why don't we head over there and see what we have in that exhibit?
Yeah, we can head over there, and this exhibit's really, like I said, about how those guns would have been made.
Okay.
And the exhibit we're headed to is maybe how they would have been bought and used.
Okay. Yeah, we have a hardware store front here. I like the sign up there.
Yeah, that is actually taken, that's we just renovated the museum, and we had a hardware store exhibit in the old museum. And that was called the Gold Reef Hardware, based on a historical reference from the collection. And so we carried that name over when we renovated the museum.
Very neat, very
tidbit.
Excellent. Well, we have some really cool, interesting stuff here, but what do we have in here? We said it was a hardware store, so.
Yeah. So back in the days of the Old West, this is part of our Story of the West gallery. And so you might go, if you needed a firearm, you might go to a hardware store instead of just a regular firearm store. And you could probably buy all the tools, like these reloading tools that you might need to go with your firearm. Okay. Or you could buy lots of other tools and equipment, maybe even some recreational stuff. The items you see back here are actually all things that were made by Winchester that aren't guns. So you can see some roller skates and some shears and some flashlights and all sorts of stuff.
Very neat. I didn't expect that they would have made those, but that's pretty cool. Excellent. Well, and I know that this was a kind of a quick tour, a little bit of everything for Teasdale to see that he might like. But thank you very much for your time, Danny. We really appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
Definitely going to be back, and I know there's lots of stuff that many people can see, not just Teasdale, to see here in this wonderful museum. So Teasdale got his quick tour. On the way out, I'm going to stop by the Civil War exhibit there and see some of the firearms that they utilized. Teasdale, you might not know, an 1861 Springfield could be loaded and fired 3 times a minute if they were really good. Now, you might be able to eat a mouse that fast if you're good.